Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to episode 56 of Talk4, the quickfire podcast where we ask four great questions to unique and interesting people. Behind the mic today is your host, Louis Skupien, that's me, and our super special guest for today, Prime Hall, who's going to be answering some questions today. Prime, please say hi, introduce yourself, and give us just a quick rundown of who you are and what you do before I shoot some questions.
Solid, brother. Thanks for having me on. My name is Prime Hall, like Amazon Prime. A lot of
Yep.
people think that that's Brian, but uh, anyway. I grew up in South Texas, down in South Padre Island and North Padre Island. Did a lot of swimming growing up. I went to a military boarding school during high school, a Marine Military Academy, and then
Mm,
that's how I ended up going into the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for about 12 plus years. Got
mm.
out. Well, I was a infantryman for 4 years, and then I went into Marine Raiders, Marine Special Operations, and was a water survival instructor. And that's how I got into really doing a lot of pool training and being an instructor.
Mm.
So I've been doing that, for almost 15 years. And I got I was in an explosion and insider attack in Afghanistan, so I got blown up and ended up getting medically separated later on. And so I've been out of the military for 5 years now, and I'm started two companies with my partner Don Tran.
Mm.
One is Deep End Fitness, like the deep end of a pool, and the other one is Underwater Torpedo League. So I've been doing that for 5 years, and through that,
Mm.
I get to train and coach and work with a lot of the top athletes in the world.
That's brilliant, man. So good to hear. And yeah,
So
I've seen a few of the clips of
yeah,
Underwater Torpedo League. Dude, it looks so fun. Honestly, it just looks like such a great time, and it looks really challenging there as well. I haven't really seen anything quite like it before. It's really cool. But yeah, so obviously I was referred to you by Kegan Gill, who's an absolute legend, and yeah, he mentioned that you're a survivor of a horrible RPG attack, and I'm sure you've got such an amazing story to tell. But I mean, honestly, it's quite funny thinking about this because when I was doing my research in you and I was kind of looking through the stuff you've done in the past just to kind of build the image for you and obviously build the podcast and do the back research, turns out so obviously you know Kegan who's been on the podcast. Then I see you're a huge advocate for vets as well. So you obviously know Marcus Capone who was also on. And then you also had a podcast with
yeah,
Mark Devine as well, who I also had on, and really Reyes Felizy. So this
yeah.
is kind of like a tight little family now. It's a really cool thing, and it's a small world. But tell you what, man, I've got four really awesome questions lined up for you today. So if you're ready to crack on, should we get on to question number one?
Yeah, let's hit it.
Let's do it. Right. So I know you touched on it briefly, but to kick this off, tell me a bit more about the kind of the backstory of the Marines and stuff. So how did you originally get into the military, and what was the kind of motivation for you behind joining? What was your why for it?
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I my parents divorced when I was I think 13 years old,
Mm,
and my mom and sister had moved away, and then I ended up in a situation where my dad moved out and was living with his girlfriend, and I was living in a situation living alone at a very young age, and so my grandparents had came into town and they found that I was living by myself,
mm.
and had been living by myself for a couple of years, and they offered to send me to military school so I could get like some, you know,
Mm.
uh, security and support and rules and school and all kinds of stuff, and so they were kind of blown away that I had been living by myself. So I got sent to military school and I volunteered to go. And it was a boarding school. So it's called Marine Military Academy. And I went there when I was 16. And, that pretty much changed my path in life. Because then from there, decided when I was there, I really wanted to go into the Marine Corps. And there, I had Marine drill instructors at the military academy, and they were like mentors to me, and
Mm.
a lot of that, I really just there was a lot about that process that I kind of clicked, that I, you know, gravitated towards. And so that was my indoctrination into the military. And then
Right.
I ended up going into the military after high school.
Mm. Interesting, man. That's cool. I mean, the Marines are such a cool thing to be in, and it's always a tight community in the military and stuff. So I can imagine you got that. And talking about that, actually, something that I was thinking about while before the podcast, I kind of wanted to ask you about this a bit of trivia on you. Then, so obviously your kind of username and stuff, and the stuff that people are calling you is prime time and like the gym stuff. I'm wondering, was that something that sort of got picked up on and started in the military? That, and is there kind of like a little backstory behind that sort of a phrase for you?
Prime time.
Mm, that's the one.
No, it's just a kind of a nickname, and it rhymes. So it seemed like it'd be a good Instagram name. I don't know.
Yeah, it's got a nice
Yeah,
ring
it's
to
not.
it.
There's not too much behind it, but
Okay.
um, yeah.
Fair enough. No, it's a cool one. I saw the little clip the other day on your Instagram of the gym session, lifting some heavy weights, and the guys were like, "Yeah, prime time, let's go." I was thinking, "Oh, that's such a cool thing. That sounds like something you get picked up on the in the military or in the Marines or something."
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, definitely in special operations, they start. You know, you it's a little bit more by first names, especially once you're with your team.
Yeah.
So, you know, typically in the Marines, they call you by your last name. So it was
Mm.
like calling me Hall, 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 Hall. Hey, Hall, get over here.
Right.
But then, so I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah. You got the good end of the stick there.
I had an uncle named Prime, so I never got
Mm.
to meet him.
Fair
Um,
enough.
but anyway,
Nice, man.
yeah,
Nice, man. Right. Well, moving on then. So, for my second question, I wanted to ask a little bit about kind of the water stuff. So, you've got this, you're a co-founder for these two things, Underwater Torpedo League and Deep End Fitness, and you're a huge advocate for kind of water stuff. And I was interested to know a bit more about this. So, obviously, like I said, I've noticed in the things that I've read about you, you're a huge advocate for water and water sports and stuff like that. So the venture you've started all based around that. So I'm wondering, what is that kind of connection for you there? What does water mean to you, and how did whatever that connection is lead to the founding of these businesses and ventures of yours?
yeah. So that's a pretty deep question, but the simple answers at the top of my mind are, I've been growing up in the water and always been a water enthusiast. Some
Mm,
people are water enthusiasts where they've just had these experiences where they just love the water.
yeah.
So I've had that, growing up, just with my grandmother always taking me to the pool, the neighborhood pools and stuff, and that was kind of like my sanctuary,
Mm,
where I would always feel so relaxed and have fun at the pool and all this stuff.
mm,
So fast forwarding into the Marines, like when I worked at a pool on base, and I saw, we got to train thousands and thousands of Marines that were doing their certifications with us as the instructors. So we got to see, you know, we got to see all these different reps with each individuals, and some of them that had fear, that had issues around water confidence, or they couldn't
mm,
swim at all and they had to complete these things.
yeah.
So I just and then getting into the underwater training and whatever. We've always seen so many breakthroughs when people go underwater. So it's like the water is a huge medium for growth, and especially when you go underwater, it basically is a shortcut in from my experience into a full mental focus,
Mm,
practice. Because as soon as you go underwater, you're in a survival situation where you're thinking about getting air, you
yeah.
know so you have an opportunity to focus beyond that alarm that's going off that's telling you that you need air,
Mm,
and practice mental focus.
mm,
So long story short, like, I love training in human performance and optimization and self mastery and all these different things, and training and recovery and optimal performance and peak
mm,
performance and whatever else. But um I could feel like you, for example, I've never trained with you before,
mm,
but I could take you to the gym, and I could we do different stuff and whatever and get you some breakthroughs, but it would need to be over some time probably.
Right.
Um, but I could take you to the pool, and I guarantee you within 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you're going to have at least one breakthrough. I'm not saying it's going to transform your life, but you're going to have a learning about yourself
Mm,
that you didn't have before. And so that's why we use the water, and it's like a hack. And so, especially people have less and less time available, people have less and less focus. So we also want to hit as many birds with one stone, you know. So you could take a professional athlete to the pool, right, and have them do a workout with us, and they're going to get challenged mentally, they're going to build their CO2 tolerance, and they're going to build their breathing capabilities, so they're going to get physical gain and benefit from it, like you know, more so than a regular workout, especially if it's something new that they're adding into their thing that they haven't done before, because now they're exposing themselves to a new stimulus. So there's
mm,
going to be more growth than doing the same thing that they've already been doing. Okay,
mm,
so but they come in, they can get a recovery, they can get this, they can get mental focus, they can learn stuff about themselves, they can learn about how they deal with stress, they can figure out how to relax, they can you know, hit all these different things within 90 minutes or an hour workout. And you know, that's why we do it.
it's very cool. And yeah, so while you're kind of explaining there, I was kind of thinking about kind of putting myself into that position as well. I mean, I'm a huge fan of swimming. I love swimming. I'm quite got quite a good front crawl. And just thinking about it, it's like when you go to the gym, especially if you're by yourself, if you have kind of a gym partner, it's slightly different sometimes. But when you go to the gym, it's so easy to kind of get distracted, you know, go on your phone for a bit, or kind of take too much time off, or just kind of be a bit procrastinating with the whole thing. I go to the gym every day, so I see it happening around the place, and I definitely feel it from time to time as well. Like your focus can just be elsewhere on the day, but when you're actually put into this situation where you're, for example, underwater or something, there's no distractions down there. And like you said, you're put into this survival situation where there's this factor that's bringing this very intense focus. And I can totally see why it's something that's very successful. But the Underwater Torpedo League, so co-founder of that, how did you actually come up with the idea for this? Is there anything like that you've kind of seen before? Because I haven't seen anything like it. And what kind of inspired the start of it?
Yeah. So in the in the Marines, we used to play a game called underwater football at the
Mm,
pools on base.
right.
And you know, it was just, and a lot of the SEAL teams, they play underwater hockey, right?
Mm,
So there's different underwater games and whatnot that are played kind of on the underground at these all these military pools
yeah.
with the instructors and the divers and all the kind of people that are water enthusiasts that are there that are practicing water confidence, you know.
Mm, yeah.
So, but the whole hack of this thing, okay, so to answer your question, underwater football is a game that we used to play, and we would play with different objects. Like we'd use a weight, we use a dive brick, and it would be 5-on-5 underwater or 3-on-3, you know, and we'd use part of the deep end, and you'd have to score by touching the wall on one side or you touch the wall on the other side.
Sounds
And
fun.
so we would use, but what we realized is that when we use the torpedo, it would make it really fun, because then that would it make it very dynamic, and then you could do all these tricks, and you can do spin moves, and you can do all this stuff. So and so it made it really cool. So, but the psychology and what we're the aha moment was like, wow, you could take these individuals that are actually kind of hesitant around the water, that don't want to go down and touch the bottom, and you can get them into this game where they take their focus off of their own anxiety and their own fear, and they put it on the game, and
Ooh,
now they're
yeah.
like they're touching the bottom 10 times,
Mm.
grabbing the torpedo.
But yeah, no, that's really cool. It looks like so much fun to do that, and I wish there was something like that happening around me. But no, you've done so well with it as well, because obviously, you know, starting a venture or co-founding something like this, or founding anything and doing really well with it, that's a very impressive thing. So, kind of for my third question, I wanted to ask a bit about the sort of the why to the success side of it. So what are some of the biggest things, routines, habits, or other that you have applied from your career in the military and applied onto the business world that you feel have aided you the most in these successes? Was there anything in particular you did that you feel gave you a competitive edge?
Man, there's a lot of like if you look at like post World War II, there was an economic boom
Mm,
because all of the war fighters came back home after World War II, and they used the frameworks for mission planning and operational planning and plugged it into businesses. And so, you know, being in the military and operations and special operations and whatever, you get all these frameworks that are basically just in your mind, you know. So, and it's just in these little acronyms and these little frameworks and stuff. But one example is a pace plan. Always having a pace plan for anything that you're doing, and any planning that you're doing. Having a pace plan means having a primary, an alternate, a contingency, an emergency plan and course of action to complete something.
mm,
So, an example would be like, hey, I'm getting out of the military, and like whenever I found out I was getting out, I didn't know I was getting out. I found out that I was getting medically separated. So now I was like, okay, so now I can't reenlist. Now I have to get out, and now I have to figure out what it is that I'm going to do,
it's a scary thing.
because I've just been getting paid every 2 weeks from the military for over 12 years. So I was I was institutionalized, and I didn't know exactly how it's going to work. So then it's like, okay, what's my pace plan of what I'm going to do outside of this? Well, my primary is that I'm going to get a job, you know, at this consulting firm that I was looking at. And the alternate would be that I go to business school and I figure out what I'm going to do. And the contingency would be that, I take this other job and work there. And then the emergency is that I just go to school and I use my GI Bill or my whatever funding from all the school stuff on the
Mm,
on the benefits side to fund myself until I can figure out what I'm going to do. But then that's just the initial pace plan. But you always want to have at least a primary and an alternate, or at least a fallback plan in your back pocket.
yeah.
So, but what you can do with that pace plan is that once you have that initial plan set, then you can update it and make it stronger and reinforce it every day. So then you're just going to put better options in for yourself.
Mm, yeah. And you can also start to then really develop those things, can't you? Like you just said, it's kind of when you have these plans and you have the contingencies and stuff, it makes it so much easier just to okay, there's so much uncertainty in the world, especially like I mean, COVID's proven that so many things that have kind of happened and things change very quickly. So yeah, totally agree. Having the backup plans and making sure you have backup after backup is so important in all walks of life. I mean, that's not just business, is it? That's literally for everything, for your health and finances. It's such an important thing. Totally agreed there. And yeah, it's like they say, the planning side of it. If you're planned up well and you have all the contingencies in place, then you're going to do well, and that's going to make things a lot better when things do go to pot, and they will. There's always going to be something to get in the way. But right. So for my fourth and final question, this is an interesting one, and obviously we touched on it a little bit at the very beginning. Obviously, like we said, you've had a
Well,
very
can
yeah.
I
Go on, go for it.
can I add one more to that last one?
Absolutely.
So you had talked about like the success
Mm,
and how and you mentioned success a few times when you were introducing that question. And I think that it's kind of implied that I'm having some success with this, but I really don't look at it, and my business partner and I, we don't look at it like we're successful.
mm,
We really look at it like, we're in the process and we're figuring it out. We have a big vision, we haven't met our big milestones yet, but we have some proof of concepts that we've developed, you know, and these things that have a lot of demand signal, and there's a lot of, kind of energy and things that are building around what we built over the last 5 years. And the coolest part about it is the community and the people that are involved with it, and the athletes that are involved with it, and all of the people that are building the programs and stuff.
Mm,
But we really don't feel like we're successful, so it's hard to accept that, at this point. But understanding that, I'm talking a lot about what's working and all this different stuff, but
mm,
over the last 5 years, it's been, sometimes some days are harder than others, but it's been a big challenge just getting out and transitioning out of being in the military and
mm,
like, finding myself outside of that, and then starting to align with you know my potential and what's possible for me now, and so it's like I just wanted to make that clear that,
mm.
it really doesn't it it really feels like, you know uh, especially as an entrepreneur, a lot of days feel like you're treading water in the middle of
Yeah,
the ocean,
I get that
you
feeling.
know.
Yeah.
And so sometimes when I get on sometimes when I get on podcasts or I go into meetings or stuff, people tell me how successful I am, and it kind of takes me back a little bit, because like I said, I feel like I'm in the middle of the ocean almost
Mm.
every day, but that's kind of part of the journey that we're on.
Yeah, I totally understand. I feel that too, especially in the kind of businesses that I'm running. It's made me think a bit more about it though. So obviously, you're a combat veteran. You've been through some really traumatic experiences. And I just want to ask you then, just off the back of what you just said now, what do you see success as? So has being in the military kind of changed your perception of that? And what would you consider success to be? Like, what does that word mean to you? Like, if you were to be successful, or someone described you as that, what would you accept as that? Like, what is your sort of take on that? What do you think ultimately it is?
I think ultimately it comes down to, your relationships and your ability to add value to people's lives,
Hmm.
you know. So how many people that you could positively impact and touch, you know, and then, basically the relationships that you keep throughout your life, and, your how you honor your bloodline, your ancestors, your family tree, and honor yourself. And uh and so I think success is like really, no matter if you're on like the coming off the biggest win of your whole life, or you're coming off, the biggest loss, that success is basically, being aligned and grounded in who you are, you know,
Mm, I totally agree. Very good point. And
and something that at the end of the day you can look back on and be like, hey, yeah,
mm, success is it's a process actually, isn't it? When you think about it, it's one of those things. It's like it's never it obviously definition kind of changes it from person to person, but the whole success thing is really an ongoing project for everyone. And like you said, it's about the impact you can provide for people and the value you can bring and stuff.
yeah,
Absolutely, really strong point there. Well, Prime, I know that you obviously you kind of you have slightly limited
yeah,
time,
but
so I'm not sure how long you've got left now, but would you like to move on to our fourth and final question?
yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. Right. So obviously as I mentioned, you touched on it
Yes.
at the start, and obviously you've had some really, really horrible experiences during your time in the military. And I feel like you're so qualified to talk about this and answer this question. So I'm going to ask this right now. So from what I've heard, obviously, like I said, you've been through a hell of a lot. But you're such a tough guy with such a proactive mindset. And from what I've seen, you're really thriving right now. So my last question, I want to ask about dealing with the bad times then. So, if someone listening in right now is in a bad place for whatever reason, what have been some of the things that which have helped you the most in dealing with the dark side of the military and the after effects? And what would you tell someone to help them get on the right path and feel hope when everything just seems to be crumbling around them?
Yeah, first thing I'll say is just stop and slow everything way down, and less is more, like, so let's like take everything with where we're at and not add anything else, and just break everything down in the smallest steps possible, and just dumb everything down really quick. It's like when you put your phone into low power mode, it's basically putting your life into low power mode, right? We're
Mhm.
basically, hey, like so in military training, you're taught that if you're going to be going like to SEER school or something, survive, evade, resist, escape, where you're not going to eat for 4 days or whatever it is, that basically put yourself into low power mode, you know, and lay around and sleep as much as possible if you're not eating for 4 days or a week. So it's the same kind of thing as, like, if you feel like you're in an emotional place, or you feel at capacity, or you feel like, whatever it is, that you can't get out of these thought patterns or whatever, and you're just completely maxed out, that put yourself into, like, if once you notice that that's happened, put yourself into low power mode, and not you're not signing you're setting boundaries on anything else, and you're not signing up for anything else, and you're basically just allowing yourself to start to heal and navigate through this process. The second part is connecting with someone that cares about you and that can also hold you accountable, ideally, that
Mm.
because accountability is love, right? So if you're going through a tough time, you need support, but you also need accountability. um and then the third one is, basically healing and integration, so figure out what healing that what healing route that you're going to go through. Like, some people use physical, like exercise and training, to heal. Some people use, I have an integration therapist that I talk to once a month.
Mm.
That's basically, there's healing journeys that veterans and a lot of special operations and really people from all over have gotten more into and more aware of over the recent years.
Yeah.
So in the worst case scenario, I would recommend someone to look into plant medicine and
Mm.
organizations like veterans or vets. Um, but and then I like to add to that to say that, um, that it's not like this cookie cutter thing. And some people say that, you go to this ayahuasca retreat, and they came back from one retreat, and that their ego's gone and their whole life is fixed. And that's not reality. That's not true. So, it's a constant, it's a process of, building your life so that, you're on the journey. It's not this destination where you're going to get to the end and there's going to be this magic carrot, or pot of gold. That's not it. It's building your life so that you're on the journey. You kind of referenced that a second ago,
Mm.
but you're going to have ups and downs, right? And there's a quote that comes to mind that, you know calm seas never made strong sailors,
I love that.
right? So, you're going to go through ups and downs in life, but that's what makes you a strong sailor, you know and that's actually what gives you the learning and the strategy to master anything in your life.
It's great advice. Totally agreed. Actually reminds me of something that Tyler Gray said to me on the podcast. He mentioned that I asked him a very similar question, and he said that all the bad things that have happened in the past, unless it's something that literally would lead to death, that's obviously not going forward, but all the bad things, somehow they will always turn out good. And you'll look back on these things that have happened and you think, best thing that's happened to me, or has forced me to grow, and this has forced me to make this change and become aware of this. And it's so true. And like you said, you need to connect with people as well. That really does help the accountability. And if anyone listening wants to reach out and have a chat or anything, I'm always available on Instagram or WhatsApp and stuff. So more than happy to try and help out there a bit. But yeah, Prime, honestly, I'm really glad to see that you're doing well. And I'm sure it's all a process for you,
I
but
got
what's next for you as well? Go on.
yeah. So I got one more thing, and
Mm,
I think we talked about it before we got on recording, but the last thing that I'll say is just do hard things and put yourself through try put through challenges,
mm,
and then that way the rest of your life seems easier. Um idle mind is a devil's workshop, so stay active, stay busy. But like what I do, for example, is you know like I'll do jujitsu in the morning sometimes, and then I'll be relaxed the rest of the day, or I'll do some type of sparring or something like that. Like this morning I got choked out a few times by some actual professional Bellator and UFC fighters
ooh,
in San Diego. And
humbling.
so, and I was doing 5 minute rounds back to back with different professional fighters, and I was completely gassed, and I'm not on the level to where I wasn't even so. But that experience right there, it makes the rest of my day easy. And then the rest of the, and then I'm not, so I'm intentionally doing those things so that uh, and because for me that helps uh, for my, because I'm not taking any prescription medications or any like any of that stuff. So I'm looking for other ways that I could, um, you know, find like, burn off anxiety, find relaxation, and uh, get worked basically. Put
Mm.
myself in a challenge that's basically that I'm gonna lose.
It's true though. I have to say, I did a bit
Yeah,
of Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well for a time, and there's nothing more humbling and more awakening in the morning, the early hours, than getting triangle choked or dash choked or
yeah,
something in the morning. But yeah,
yeah,
I can imagine that's kind of a quite an intimidating thing having these pro fighters on the go and everything. But no, it looks like you're doing a good thing there, and you're rolling up the belt ranks as well, which is brilliant. But yes, so Prime, I kind of touched on this a second ago, but you, like I said, you're doing so well right now. It's really good to see. What's next for you? So, what have you got coming up? What have you got planned? And do you have anything on the calendar for people to keep an eye out for?
yeah. The biggest thing is our expansion that we're doing with Deep End Fitness. So we're
Mhm.
expanding the pool program. Right now, we have 16 different programs across the United States in key places. So this last year, we did a lot of expansion in places like Vegas, Austin, San Antonio, Florida, Vermont, so Hawaii. So this year, it's a continuation of that, and
Mm.
so we're going to continue expanding in key cities across the U.S. and then start a little bit outside. So check us if you want to look at that. Look at Deep End Fitness on Instagram,
Mm.
or deependfitness.com is the website.
Mm.
And then UTL is we'll have season 12, which will start in May. And for that, it's utlnation.com, Underwater Torpedo League. It's also, I mean, if you Google Deep in Fitness or Underwater Torpedo League, there will be like at least 20 or 30 different articles that pop up.
Mm.
And so there's different, just stuff that we've done over the last 5 years or whatever else. But yeah, so that's that.
Great stuff, brother. Well, there it is. So that is, in fact, our four questions and a bit done for today. And I know you've kind of promoted the business side of things already, but I just want to give you just a moment just to have a little bit more of a shameless plug. And please do give us your account stuff as well. So where can people find you? Like your social media and stuff, because obviously that's your businesses, and we all want to follow the badass guy who's right here too. So yeah, please feel free to plug away.
Yes, thanks, brother. So for IG for Instagram, you can look up Prime Time
Mm,
with a prime underscore time, and time has two I's, so it's TIIME.
mm,
But just look up Prime Time and it'll pop up. And then for business stuff, you can look up Prime Hall on LinkedIn.
mm.
Um, and then for the last thing is my partner and I wrote a book called Free Your Mind Guidebook. So that's been out for a couple years now, but I have another book that I've been working on with an author, Bethany Marshall. That's about post-traumatic stress, transition, healing, and really just a lot of the experiences that I've had and what I've learned from it,
Mm.
and framing everything as positively as possible. Um, that book is basically in final like process right now of being drafted and then editing. So that thing will come out on preprint. So if anyone wants to check that out or get involved with that, with the process of that book, you can go to primehall.com,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the first thing that pops up.
Ooh, that's really exciting, really exciting, and I'll make sure to be looking
Yeah.
out for that as well. But yeah, guys, especially in the YouTube one, just click the description. I'll make sure I have all of Prime's links there as well, so you can find all of his amazing stuff very quickly. But Prime, just want to say thank you so much for your time and for joining me today for the Talk4 podcast, episode 56. It has been honestly a true pleasure having you on. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man.
Keep
There's
me
been
posted.
I will. It's been great to meet you. Well, guys, thank you all for listening. This has been, like I said, episode 56. And if you'd like to listen into our past episodes, oh, he's got something. He's got something. Go on then.
I'd say shout out. Yeah. Shout out to Keegan for setting it up.
Hell yeah. No, Kagan's a great guy. Unbelievable episode. Has to be watched. I can't remember the exact number, but yeah, he tells one of the most incredible stories of survival and resilience I've ever, ever heard. How do you know him,
Yeah. I love
Prime?
that guy. I met him at the Warrior Angel Foundation, so that's another plug. Check out the Warrior Angel Foundation. But we did the 4x4 by 48, so we did
Mm,
like the 48 miles over 2 days,
mm.
and outside of Houston, and that was earlier this last year. I think it was in March or April of last year. But anyway, that's where I first met him.
Awesome.
And obviously, we had plenty of time to connect over 48 miles.
It's very true. It's very
So
true.
it was good.
Nah, awesome guy. But I mean, like I said, it's a small world out there. But I have to say,
Yeah.
it's a very, very, very big honor for me to have spoken to such absolute
Cheers,
legends.
brother.
And
Thank you.
yeah, it's been a good one, guys. Like I said, please do hit the subscribe button if you'd like to listen into the past or future episodes. And yeah, spread some love. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know what you thought and your favorite parts. And yeah, signing off for now.